it's all tying me to EDM music. So I started doing EDM.
What is your voice? What is your story?
I wasn't into drill until they reached out and was like, yo.
Now we doing drill?
Yo, you gotta limit, listen, you gotta limit your influence.
I was just giving them what the people wanted, you know what I mean? I'm not like, I was like, yo.
But here's the thing. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the MEC Reality Check. This is a new series, a new offering that we're going to do. We're hoping to help you guys out. So if you're interested in learning more about your career, or you're confused, or you feel like you've hit a stoppage or a breaking point, we're here to help you. But we want to give you a reality check on what's going on in the industry and in your career. So hit us up. We have our first guest today, but I'm going to toss it over to Dame before we talk to our first guest to give a little introduction to our sponsors, T1C3.
And before I even talk about T1C3, like, this is just our perspective. Like, you can come on here and be like, fuck it, I don't agree with y'all. I don't care what you say. I'm not valuing your opinion. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. Like, you have the right and you can do that if you want to. This is just
that never happens. No one ever disagrees with our opinions.
we have been in the game for a minute. Some of us have been jaded, so maybe you think that our perspective is coming from a jaded perspective. We don't know what's going on today. But anyway, before we get into this episode is brought to you by T1C3. If you want 3 months free music distribution, just use the code MEC and check it out. So yeah, let's just hop right into it. Aaron, I'll let you take it from here.
Dope. Welcome, Tice. Where are you coming to us from?
Coming to you live from York, PA. York, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Pennsylvania, word. I actually got an artist that I've worked with out there before. We're excited to have you. So let's just start with an introduction. We would love a little bit of a flyover. Tell us your name. You know, you can put your Instagram handles, all those things. What style of music you are. Maybe just a little tiny background. And then tell us what you feel like is your hardest point right now, or what's blocking you, or maybe some of the things that you're struggling with as you're journeying upward as an artist.
Okay. So my name is Tice. My handle is T1C3 SODMG. I'm a live content creator, recording artist, and personality for content creation. My biggest setback is like actually having a team to like really drive that motivation to actually do projects. Because before I got to the situation I'm in now, I was with the team and we hit the studio every single day. It was a reoccurring thing. Every day was a 2-hour session. Everything was paid for, so money wasn't really a problem. That's another. We had an investor. We had our own producer and engineer, so every single day we was just doing that over and over again. But, you know, as y'all are saying in the podcast before, you know, smart people do crazy things when they got free time, and all that went away. So, you know, now it's just solo me doing it now. So
SOD Money Game, that's Soulja Boy. So you were working with Soulja Boy?
Yeah. So I met Soulja Boy 2014, and we was doing gaming. So I'm in his gaming organization. So he started off a gaming thing. We just started doing games and making content together. And at the time, I was like the manager of all the game creation. So I would get all the creators together. We'll make content. I'll edit it up, put it on the page, and it was doing real great, you know. But again, you know, people get big headed and start doing things they shouldn't be doing, and you know, so just said, "Nah, that's out of here." So
we talked about that recently on the podcast. Just the difficulty of making the team dynamic work.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of. I mean, you do ultimately kind of need a team at some point, but to make that work, there's so many different variables that come into play that kind of make it difficult to continue moving as a team. Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah, when you get into a team and you know your lane and you just consistently do whatever you can to build an empire, it's easier for you to become greater. But when you start fighting within, it messes up everything. And that has been my constant situation from ever since I started doing this. So now it's like That is my only roadblock, you know, either that or just like my brain runs so much that, music is like something I really love to do and I'm passionate about. But I know I can go get this bread if I just talk on a microphone, you know what I mean? For like an hour or so when I'm doing gaming content, and, you know, $100 check that's what I make from music. It's not a lot. So I can go do a voiceover for like 700 right there. You know what I mean? I can go do this little sponsored gaming joint for like 500. So it's like, it's hard when you don't have a team to be like, as you guys were saying, like the little app that got you a manager. It doesn't work for me because my brain is like, I want to do this, I want to do that. I was always told to diversify your revenue. So, you know, that's kind of my like block for like really doing this.
What I typically tell artists is, I mean, because not very many artists have like a solid team.
Right.
And, you know, I think you have to anticipate that you're going to be going at this by yourself, because you can't really force a team. You try to force a team, you're going to bring on the wrong people. It's not going to be constructed right. You know, people have different incentives. So you kind of just have to prepare to do like pretty much everything yourself, you know, until you attract the right people or network and, you know, they see value in working with you, and there's just kind of a natural connection. So if anybody listening to this wants to do this, you can't say, to me, you can't say, oh, it's because I don't have a team. It's like, well, you have to be a one-man team, you know, and be prepared to do it for quite some time.
I want to ask you about the team factor, because it seems like you sort of implied since the beginning of your journey, you've been working with teams, and then inevitably the team splits up and then you're back to square one. Is that a pattern for you?
Yeah. So I've now I'm like
it was for me that.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I can relate because that was me at the beginning of my career.
Yeah, it wasn't until like actually when I first started doing like I tried to do when Dat Piff was a thing. I started like reaching out to different producers, and they would release their tape, and then I would double back and then like not necessarily take their tape, but be like, yo, I can try to promote your tape by me doing music over it. So I started like a little series where I would take one producer, do a whole tape on their beat instrumental, and then throw it back up, and people will gravitate to me and them. So it's like shining the light on both. It's like making a network of people like, oh, where did this beat come from? And then they'll go back to the producer, but then it'll give me a little light too. So I did that for a long time. And that's how I actually ran into you, because you had a tape, and I was like, oh man, this is great. And it kind of got me out of a box of like just doing one style. Cause I used to do like rock. I was heavy on rock. I really wasn't doing the hip hop thing, but the soul type of thing that made my stories come alive is where I got to know you from. So I just started running with that, and that helped me kind of develop a different sound that I wasn't knowing I was capable of doing. So yeah.
So I think for me, kind of, you know, we kind of looked at some of the stuff that you're doing. I'd like to hear from you on kind of like what your brand, what your messaging is, like what you represent. Because I think one of the things that might be an issue is there's just a lot going on.
Right.
You know, and even with what you told us thus far, is like you're kind of in gaming, you know, you've dabbled in rock, you know, it seems like there's not much direction in kind of the music stuff that you're trying to put out. But I would like to just hear from you, like who is your target audience? So what is your story like for the music?
Well, I started doing music when I was in Korea. I was over there for like 2 years doing like military service. So while I was like dancing, and because I used to do crump, and I was heavy in like the dancing scene, and that's how I met Monster Wu, Tight Eyes.
He been all over the place.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how my mind works. If I like something and I love something, I'm just gonna jump out and go to the top if I can. So I ended up meeting Monster Wu, Tight Eyes. I was performing in stages with them in Korea, and one guy was like, "Oh man, I love the way you dance. Can you sing?" And I was like, nah, I can't sing. He was like, can you write lyrics? I was like, oh yeah, I can write you a song though. So I started writing songs for them. And then they would pay me like 90,000 won. That's in Korean money. So it translates to like 90, maybe like $100 here and there. And I didn't get no royalties. I was just like, it was free money, free VIP section. So I wasn't really thinking about the money really. So I would write songs for people like Big Bang, Taeyong, and they would take the songs I would make and they would like give it to them. So that's how I really got into music heavy. And then when I came to America, it was like that same thing. Find a team, find somebody who wants to do it. Because I really wasn't searching for it at the time, but it made me more getting into the music thing. Now, to your question of my audience, before I really didn't have an audience. It was more so I would just make gaming content and then I would just like put my music behind it. And it was like, yo, this is dope. You should do more of that. So I started making music just to go with because at the time I was with a team called Rise Skating, and they were like a Skate 3 organization. And we got up to like 500,000 subscribers, and they would put my music behind the videos, and people were like, yo, Tice is dope. So we just started I was just integrating music wherever I can because I'm hip hop. You know what I mean? No matter what I do, I'm hip hop. So that's where the music was trying to go to. So my target audience is like, I wanted the people to be like, not go through the same things that I went through. So I'm more of like a contemporary hip hop genre type of person, but I can fit the mold of anything. I've done K-pop, EDM, I've done rock, but I've always integrated hip hop into it. So my audience is more so collect the gems type of audience, but not a lecture. So that's the type of music that I do. Give you motivational type music.
So who would you say is a similar artist that has that you would like a similar audience to, like fan base to?
Man, that's a good question. When I first started putting music on Spotify, people were like my fans also with Soulja Boy and Tyga and I believe it was I can't remember the third person, but that all changed now. Now it's all EDM. I don't know what Spotify's algorithm is doing, but it's all tying me to EDM music. So I started doing EDM. But
So you just going with the flow. You just like, all right, they ain't tying me to EDM. Yeah. Fuck it, I'll just let the EDM and listen to what Spotify say. Like,
I don't know.
What's your direction? What do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do?
Really, like my demographic is like 25 to 40. So when I look at the analytics, that's what my group is. So I try to.
What do you want? Stop listening to an algorithm and Spotify. What is your voice? What is your story? Who are you trying to talk to?
I'm trying to talk to the individual growing up. That's who my audience, what I would like to be. Get them on the right track.
What type of individual? Any individual growing up?
I would say more of the passionate, the entrepreneur. That's the type I want to talk to.
Okay, so I'm gonna hop in right here. I love your ambition and that you are so spread out. You have done a ton, but it's as somebody who dabbles in a lot. Mm-hmm. That it's a big problem, because when you lack focus, you lack a target, so there's no place to ascend to. Do you know what I'm saying? You're just kind of
like a direct shot. It's more of like a shotgun instead of a sniper rifle. Okay.
Come on.
Yeah.
Great analogy. Exactly. So it's like you're hitting something, right? Which is why you're like, well, people like this and people like that.
Yeah.
But like Dame said, like, what do you like? I was about to ask you what your goals are, but I almost feel like you wouldn't be able to give me a concise goal because you're like, I'm just trying anything, which I think is great. I think trying a lot of stuff when you're young or when you're unsure of where you want to focus is phenomenal. But when you want to see results, that's when you have to hone in. So you can go wide, then you can go narrow, then you can go wide, then you can go narrow. So I'm not telling you have to succumb to being like one dimensional, because as somebody, again, who does a lot of things, but I had to focus on something, then pivot, then focus, then pivot. So if you could, in your head right now, what is your goal with music? Because if it's to make money, you seem to have other ways, like you said, streaming, voiceover, whatever. Mm-hmm. So if it's to get your creativity off, it seems like you're also already doing that. But what is your goal with the music? And if you have a couple of them, that's also fine.
My goal in music is just to get people to understand the struggles of, I want to say indigenous, but Black, like the struggle, the struggle, and to get them on when they listen to my music, to know that there is a way. So basically that's all. That's really what I do music for. I do music for therapy, to get off my, my pain and struggles that I went through, and then hopefully the listener, they feel that, and maybe they change their direction in life to do better for themselves. How
do you evaluate that goal? How do you assess whether or not you've reached that? Because that's very personal to a wide range of people. This cat, I'm about to. Are there things you can put on a cat to shut them up? I would never do that. But oh my God, stray. Just got this stray cat. Anyway, they're very vague goals for, like what Aaron and Dame are saying, a demographic that's not very clearly defined. And I think that really speaks to your overall experience of living in multiple spaces and enjoying each space enough to not necessarily take from those spaces, but give yourself to those spaces, which can be a problem for an artist. Because if you're giving yourself to all these different spaces, K-pop, I'll give them part of me. Gaming, I'll give them part of me. Skate culture, I'll give them part of me. Rock culture, I'll give them part of me. Hip hop culture, I'll give that part of me. You're giving up a lot, but not really creating your own foundation, because you're moving around too much. It's like if you're building a foundation, you got to pretty much stay at the site and pour that concrete. You know what I mean? And you're not really pouring concrete in your spots. So, pretty much everything you've said is impossible to assess. I can't put a benchmark on whether or not my listeners can relate to a struggle, or whether or not my story resonates to them. So I would have to come up with a much more precise goal, something more concrete. And I would also have to figure out how I can measure that. Because right now you can't measure that. And that's where your source of frustration is. Because when we read your responses to what you're looking for, it was still very vague. It's like, I want to find people who care about music. Mm-hmm. Well, you may have already found them. Because out of the 500 plus monthly listeners you have, some of them must care about music. One could make the argument that all of them care about music. One could also theorize that all of them resonate with your lyrics and the struggle that you're trying to convey. So at that point, hey, you've already accomplished your goal, and yet you're still frustrated. And I think that frustration comes from the fact that you just don't really have a clear direction, but you don't realize you don't have a clear direction. And trust me, you are not alone. I think the vast majority of artists, if you ask them the very same questions, they would have the same or similar answers.
Because even what you just told us, right? Mm-hmm. Like people on the come up, people entrepreneurial, and I'm looking at the music that you're putting out and the content that you're posting. Like, I don't know if it's telling that story, right? Like, I don't know if a song with Rick Ross talking about pockets deep is like telling that, because you're writing this from the perspective of like you're still in it, right? It's not a story of like, look at what I did, at least in music, because you haven't gotten there yet, right? You're telling the story in the midst of the storm.
Right.
But your music, some of the messaging in your music is reflective of like I've already done it. Right. So it's a disconnect in the story. So I don't know if that, so yeah, it's cool. I might get Rick Ross on the song, and I'm not saying don't put that song out. I'm just saying there's a disconnect with that song and the story that you're trying to tell.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Aaron. My bad.
I was going to ask, when you say the Black struggle, what specifically is that? What point of the struggle? Because I think I can't ascribe to a general Black struggle. What point of the Black struggle are you pinpointing in your music?
So the struggle I'm pinpointing is from is being in a single family house, mom's not home, dad's not home. And then, cause I was basically raised by the streets. That's my struggle. My dad was deployed, and, I love my mom, love her to death. I do everything for her, and I have. So I can say that, my mom wasn't home either. She was out, partying, living her best life. And so, my struggle was being in the streets, not having a home to actually be at or go to. So I would just kick it with the homies, do illegal things. And, that's my struggle. So, part of,
and I can't,
okay.
I can't sit here because we didn't have the time to listen to all of your music. Right. So you might have some songs that tell that story. Those just weren't the ones that popped out to me at a quick glance. That's what you're talking about to me is totally different than what I see when I scroll on your Instagram or just kind of look at some of the top songs that are on Spotify. It's a total disconnect to me. I had no idea that you would say talk about that story versus what I'm seeing.
Yeah. So the music that I put out is more time based. So the music that I put out is what happening right then and right there, what I'm going through right then. So all of those stories are like I was saying, that these stories were, music is therapeutic. So I'm never going back to talk about what happened back then, because those are all on mixtapes, So I missed that opportunity because that's copywriting. I can't bring that to my new catalog that I'm trying to build. So basically everything that comes out from here on is what I'm living right now. So I try to keep it like that.
So then what is the Black struggle now, or whatever that you're overcoming? Because you reference that as part of your story. And I totally get time and place, you know what I'm saying? But time and place doesn't uproot the foundation.
Right.
There are rudimentary things, you know what I'm saying? Foundational things that you're always going to reference. Everybody who has ever met me probably knows I'm from Atlanta. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm talking about Atlanta. I'm talking about, Black women. I'm talking about not being understood in this industry. I'm talking about caring about people. There's certain tenets that are in me that are fundamental. So it's okay if your struggle story isn't the thing that you keep telling, because I personally get frustrated with that. That's okay, but there should be tenets to your story. There should be a formation of verticals in your brand identity that people say, yep, he does this, he does this, he does this. If you think about somebody like Guap Dad 4000, he used to be a scammer. And so that is one of the tenets of his business. He's no longer a scammer, but he talks about how that scamming mentality has led him to win now. So now a very successful artist talks about building his career from that. He's very centralized with his local community. So he talks about the Bay Area. He always talks about how handsome he is. So there's all these different things that plays into the way he dresses. It plays into the way he talks to women. It plays into his brand deals. So he's not, when he was struggling and scamming, he was calling himself handsome. He's no longer struggling and scamming, but he's referencing the mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's there should be things that you're consistently building on. So I would say, I'm not asking you to forsake this story, and I'm not asking you to make reference to it all the time either. But what are you pulling when you're saying gems? What are the overall things that you pull? For me, one of my tenets is excellence. I used to say the E is for excellence, for excellent. I used to have the Excellence Academy. You know what I'm saying? And I have a book that I wrote code on excellence. So everything that I do, I want to be excellent according to my definition of excellence. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like I don't necessarily talk about the word so much anymore because I don't want to overdo it, but it's always weaved throughout what I'm doing. So I think you just got to kind of take a look at what you're trying to present, because as somebody who moves around through industries, cultures, whatever, people are gravitating to my desire to be excellent more than they are to one particular thing that I do, right? So if that's a gem that I'm dropping, it's like, man, Aaron is doing it to the highest level. Like you said, you're going to go do this thing, you're going to go to the top. That's cool. But like, is that consistent everywhere you go? Or do you just go try things and then drop the ball and then move on? That's when you become a generalist. You know what I'm saying? Because then people are like, oh yeah, he's just kind of doing whatever. But if you can go and stay long enough to say, I'm going to elevate this. Okay, boom. When I go here, I'm going to elevate this. When I go into a room from an industry that I've been a part of or a genre that I've been a part of, a lot of people are like, yo, Aaron, you did this thing that affected me here. Like, if you're not doing enough to make a loud noise in the room, then don't do it at all. Go spend your voice somewhere else so you can amplify the things you're really focused on, you know? But I think you have a cool ideology around this stuff, but I would say you probably need to hone in a little bit more because you're speaking in very general terms. But like, even your father being absent because he was serving in the military is way different than your father dying to gun violence or your father being incarcerated. So as a black person hearing, oh, your dad's not there, the assumption is that it's something negative. And this dude was serving his country. I'm not saying it didn't have a negative effect on you, but you have a very different perspective. Same with my dad. My parents are still married. My dad was absent because he was way more focused on getting to the bread than he was taking care of me emotionally, and he felt like paying for stuff was the fix. I'm grateful he paid for my living and education, but that fucked me up. Do you know what I'm saying? So I have a very different story because I have great parents who, from the outside looking in, incredible humans. But for me, it fucked me up, and I had to learn how to heal from a lot of different things because I didn't see them because they were trying to build community and do all this shit on the outside. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't want you to succumb to generalizations because the world is telling black people, oh, this is how you grew up. You had a single family home. Like, you did. I'm not invalidating that, but you have a way different perspective, and talking about the niche and the unique things from your perspective are actually more valuable than you joining the mainstream and saying, I didn't have any parents either. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it feeds the narrative that black parents aren't present, and then it also feeds the narrative that black kids have no direction. And it's like, it's a different experience for you. Still rough, but just a different experience for you. So I would hone in on what makes you different versus what makes you similar. And that's really what's going to make you win.
Okay. I feel that.
Yeah. I mean, and the other things that I saw, just kind of taking a quick glance, is just a lack of consistency, you know, whether it's on the social media side or whether it's on the music output side. If you're going to try different things, you got to get more out so that you can get the data back quicker, you know, and feedback, and get that feedback into your system, essentially, so that you figure out, you know, which direction you want to go. So, you know, I would try to develop a regular cadence. And unfortunately, you know, these algorithms appreciate consistency, not necessarily frequency, but consistency. You know, so if your cadence is once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks, like, stick to that. You know, same on social media. They want to constantly kind of feed the algorithm. So if there's a schedule that you can get on, you've been in the military, so I know you have organization and structure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That goes a long way because most artists don't. So I would figure out, you know, the cadence in which you want to release content, so that you can figure out, like, how get the information back from the performance of that content, and figure out, like, how you need to change it. Don't change the cadence, or if anything, do more as you get more resources or when you start to get a team. But I would definitely work on that consistency for sure.
Okay, for sure.
And you can do this. You don't need a team to do it. A team can't do this for you, honestly. So no matter what team you go to, this is just me being the reality check guy. It's not going to do anything. The team can't. The team can't do any of this for you. Team can't build the foundation for you.
You can't force this team. I mean, you can you can be more proactive in networking so that you meet more people to hopefully find the right people quicker. But there's definitely communities of people online that care about music, right? You know, even the shirt I'm wearing right now, 24/7 artists, you know, I'm sure have a lot of people in their community that really care about music. The Digilog has a bunch of people that are part of that community that care about music. If you're really trying to find people with those qualities and that mindset, like there's communities that exist where you're going to find a higher percentage of people that have that mindset and care towards the music. So there's shitload of people out there that care about music.
Right.
Well, yeah. And they care about music, but what they're going to care about is the story. They care about music that resonates with them. So how many people have parents who served? How many people serve themselves? Millions. So it's not about finding people who care about music. That's too vague. Everyone listens to music every single day and they care about it. They just might care about, you know, traditional Carnatic Indian music. They might care about dancehall. They might care about Brazilian music. But I think he's talking about not like just care about like taking this shit seriously and people that he can really connect with and build with that pursue music as serious as he wants to. Oh, you're not talking about your listeners. You're talking about collaborators.
I believe that's what he was talking about.
Yeah,
right?
I've gotten a lot of like, hey, let's work, but it's more like, what kind of substance are you bringing? You know what I mean? I'm not just.
Oh, you got to block that out. Who cares if they're trying to work? It doesn't. Who gives a, you know, it. No, but really, like, you just have to block out a lot of shit, and that'll come. The insight to know what to ignore and what to pursue is going to come from having a clear direction.
Yeah, for sure.
But but in those communities that I just mentioned, if you're not a part of them, tap in, at least join their Instagram and start participating in some of the activities and events that they host. But there's a lot of people that are pursuing music that say they're passionate, that they care about it. And, you know, that shouldn't be hard to find. Now, whether or not you find somebody that actually joins your team at some point, you know, I don't know, but you can definitely surround yourself with positive energy and, you know, people that really are passionate about their pursuit of a career in the music industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
And momentum is attractive. So it's like, it's not even really about, respectfully, the music or anything. It's just about momentum. If you got weight, if you moving in a direction, people want to go with what's going. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like one will fix the other. If you surround yourself with great people and great community and you're moving, you're going to get the team, you know? Do you have anybody virtually or in person that you're connecting with on a regular basis?
I connect with some of my people out there in the UK. That's how I really started doing like the drill type thing, because I wasn't into drill until they reached out and was like, "Yo,
now we doing drill."
Yo, you gotta limit. Listen, you gotta limit your influence.
I was just giving them what the people wanted. You know what I mean? I'm not like, yo.
But here's the thing, and this is the thing about opinions. They're like assholes. Everyone has one, right? So it's like, 10 people. Respectfully, folks be like, 10 people say they want something, so you do it. Then another 8 people say they want something, so you do it. Then 2 people, then 3 people. I got hella artists be like, man, some of my fans said I should tour. You got 3 tweets in a DM and you think I'm about to spend money throwing an entire tour because some people.
Yeah.
Respectfully, it's like, you gotta choose and people will move with the momentum. You're stagnating at no perceived growth because you haven't chosen. When you choose, they gonna come because you believe. You know what I'm saying? But you believe you can do anything and everything, so you're doing anything and everything. You can do anything and everything, just not at once.
I feel that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just not at once. So just choose. I just think you got a lot of shit going on, but it's like when you choose, you give yourself the opportunity to cultivate excellence and exceptionality versus variety.
Right.
That's what the internet is. That's why the internet is a fucking variety show. But if you can go deep with something super specific, then you're cultivating excellence. You become an expert and people come to you for something.
Right.
It could be your whole world. build your world. You don't have to just choose music, but your gaming world, your music, everything should live in the world. That's what I had to do. I'm not choosing to just be a manager. I'm choosing to be a communicator, and I'm communicating my heart in a various different ways. It's Aaron's world, but it all has to make sense. I have one line through. My dream is for Black people to be free, and that starts with me, right? That's my line through. Everything from there flows from that. Everything I'm doing, you can see it connected to those things. Me being free because I want us to be free. You know what I'm saying? So like, think about what your line through is and go from there. But I think just for the sake of time, we're almost done. But I would love for Payne to give some thoughts on the music itself, because everybody's going to eat us up and be like, well, what about the music? So like, let's dive into some of the sounds, because this is about music and not just music business.
Right.
So like, Payne, could you give us your take on some of the sounds?
Yeah, I mean, I think the same applies. There is such a variety. I heard the drill record and I was like, damn, here he goes. You know, and it's not to say that I didn't like the music. It was just that when I listened to about 8 different songs, it sounded like a different artist every single time. And it was because I'm one of those people that's cursed with variety. I always want to make something different because I enjoy doing it. But what is the common theme? What is it's like a spinal cord. Every body part's different, but it's a part of the same person. So what ties it all together? You know, and there are artists out there who do a lot of different stuff. You know, Drake does a lot of different stuff. There's a lot, just to be balanced. So people, Kendrick's albums have a lot of variety in them too. But they're the same artist every time. You know they're going to be the same. Shit, Kendrick did a song with Taylor Swift. It was the same Kendrick on that verse. They're going to talk about the same things. They're going to use similar cadences, and sonically, it's going to sound the same. So when we're talking about your music, you know, I know you like working with a lot of different producers, a lot of different people, but it's never a bad idea to narrow your sound down. It's never a bad idea to narrow your sonics down. And sonics are one of those things that I wanted to talk about too, because I heard your record Fingerling that was produced by John Camp, who I know. So I saw his name. I'm like, oh, cool. Let me check out what John Camp is doing. That's my favorite song. The beat sounds amazing. The overall mix sounds amazing. Your voice sounds amazing. The sonics of it are great. But when I listen to the other 7 or 8 songs, they didn't sound like that song. So I'm assuming that someone else recorded and engineered that track.
Yes.
So I'm not saying aspire to make every song sound like that and then, you know, discard anything that doesn't sound that good. But the sound of your voice and the way you present that instrument is important. And I feel like there's maybe like we've been talking to you throughout this last 40 minutes or so, and it sounds like you're throwing spaghetti at the wall in all things you do just because that's where you are. I feel like you're probably doing the same thing with, and correct me if I'm wrong, recording yourself and mixing your own music.
I started outsourcing that. But ever since, and here's the thing, I did this one song totally all by myself, and then it did way better than anything I ever went to the studio for, and it kind of threw me off. I spent like $1,000 on this one song, and it did like not even a fourth of what the song that I did at home did. So I was kind of like, maybe I send a record to my homie, or maybe I send the record to this person, or maybe I'll do it myself and then try to A/B test it and see what's going on. But
you don't have enough data points to make decisions off of one thing that happens.
Okay. Like
you need several or a lot of data points before you start making decisions like that. Because there are a lot of reasons why that song might have performed better than the other one. You know, there are a million different reasons why that could be the case.
Okay.
I think that you really need to hone in on a sound so that you can make the best quality music doing that, right? If you're all over the place, like all of these songs are going to sound subpar because this one's country and this one is rap, this one is drill. It's like, bro, the only thing that would make sense is if your artist name was like Work for Hire or some shit like that.
Okay. I get it.
That would be the only thing that makes sense about this story if that was your rap name.
I feel that.
So I think we need to hone in so that stuff can be quality. And once you develop like a quality sound in that lane, then maybe venture out if that's what you want to do, or maybe continue doing that stuff behind the scenes. But what you present to people need to be able to digest what it is that you do and who you are, and very quickly, because we're not going to spend that much time to figure it out.
Right. I think one of my biggest issues is there's no genre for me. They split it up into so much. You have you got rap, and then there's hip hop, but there's no me. I want to be contemporary rap, but there's no.
Nah. Too many artists say this. This is not a thing.
It's not.
There's no genre. Nah. So I always people are gonna get mad because I always reference my guy Ollie Joseph, but listen to Ollie Joseph's music.
Okay.
He coined kind of a new genre. He calls it mountain pop, and it's a fusion of like hip hop, country, and pop. But listen to it and listen to the consistency from song to song. Like, oh, I get it. Like they're developing a new genre, a new sound, but it's consistent.
What's his name again?
Ollie Joseph, Ollie Joseph.
Got it.
And I think listening to him, you'll get an idea of what I mean.
Okay. Say that.
Too many artists would be like, there's nobody like me, but just there's somebody like you.
Gen Z is really experimenting, and they'll do a mixtape here, a joint project here, a rock collab. It doesn't matter what the overall genre is because nobody else is paying attention.
Right.
Your audience actually doesn't care how you categorically place it. So it's like a genre classification is a wild place to lose sight because nobody actually gives a fuck. I have never checked to look at who my favorite artists categorically place themselves as, and I tend to like very fusion-filled, unique, hybrid artists. So you would be somebody that I say probably a third of who I listen to have less than 5,000 monthly listeners. So I don't care about how many numbers you have. I don't care what genre it is. My thing is, do you have a sound? Right? Like, can I and it doesn't have to be the same. I want a sound. Earth Gang is one of my favorite rap groups, and they just did an EDM record, and then they dropped a mix, they dropped mixtapes with J. Cole. It's like, they are all over the place. You know what I'm saying? And they've done.
But now, though, is that what they did coming up?
They were always like that. They used to drop all sorts of. Because I've been an Earth Gang fan when they was dropping shit on SoundCloud and CDs and whatever. They've always been. But the thing is, they do have a sound. When they flow together, they have a 1-2 punch. Always. That's why they never appear solo. They always appear together. And the way that they go into each other, they always make references to each other's verses. But I learned that as a fan, so it doesn't matter if they're on an EDM record or a rock record, they're still going to have a similar flow. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you can't be pigeonholed by people's misunderstanding, because to be an artist is to be a visionary, but to be a successful artist is to be a translator. You have to understand how to translate what you're doing.
Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Tice, I want to give you an opportunity to. I know we just kind of dumped a bunch of shit on you. Like,
hey, I'm eating it up. I'm eating it up for real.
Definitely want to give you a chance to respond before we close this out. If anything, if it's just like, okay, I got it, cool.
Oh, no. I really understand all the information that you guys dished out. I'm very receptive. I'm going to try to find my sound, find who I am, find out who my listener is, and trying to hone in on them. I know that, finding a sound for someone may be a thing because, that's how they find their favorite artist. But since the history of time, they're like, oh, man, he got the same flow, man. I'm sick and tired of hearing him, man. When you switch up his flow? And that's what I'm not trying to go there. That's why I'm always doing something different. But I don't even have a sound to begin with. So I understand where you guys are coming from. And I'm going to take the genre thing out of my mind and just trying to focus on just giving them something that they know that, hey, that's Tice on the track, instead of, yo, who the hell is this? So I definitely get it. And I'm going to, be consistent and try to do that more. Yeah, sure.
Follow Tice, T1C3 SODMG on Instagram. I appreciate Tice's presence just in multiple conversations, because I've been seeing your name come up for years, and I know you've engaged with my content. We've interacted a lot, and it's always a positive contribution. Now I want to respond to what you said, which is that people will tell you to switch up your flow when they're sick of it, but that's only because they're the detractors out of the million fans. They only say that to famous rappers who have already had an impact and have already had influence. Fans don't care. Fans aren't asking.
When you can switch up your flow, though, that doesn't have. I mean, you should. I mean, you shouldn't be, the same cadence on every song. That, to me, is different than what Aaron is talking about.
Okay.
And just lastly, do you want SOD Money Gang part of your brand going forward? If that's not part of who you are, should that be part of your Instagram? Because I think people have a certain perception of what that is and what that means. But if that's not tied to you anymore, you might want to consider.
Nah, that's family. I just talked to him yesterday.
No, I know it's family, but is it your brand going forward?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I feel what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm not saying to not hang out with them or talk to them anymore, but is that still a part of your story that you're trying to tell now?
Yeah.
Because people are going to have the SOD Money Gang is bigger than Tice at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So people are going to have a certain perception of what that is, and expectation, of that being tied to your name. And they might make assumptions that are wrong before even checking out your stuff.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
For sure.
Thank you so much, Tice, for being here. We're super grateful. Everybody, like Payne said, go follow Tice. Tice, we want to check back in with you in 6 months and see what's up. So we'll be watching. Hopefully everything's moving well. But we're looking forward to it. Thank you all for tuning in. Shout out to our sponsor, T1C3. And follow the MEC. Subscribe, comment, all the things. Thanks, y'all.
For sure.
Peace.